Hello, and welcome to another FODEUSS breakdown. Today we'll be breaking down rounds 3 and 4 of the FODEUSS draft. It's Tom, by the way. If you're curious what that is, you might want to watch the first video in the series, or at least the beginning of it, when I go over exactly what FODEUSS is a little bit more. But we're just going to get right into it today. There is a little bit of business we need to take care of beforehand. First of all, you're going to notice that this list is a lot shorter. What happened was I turned on the game after I'd had a few beers and I was going to import some guys and look at some guys, and I clicked this big shiny continue button, which is very tempting when you first turn on the game. Like, yes, I want to continue playing the game, but that erased all of my free agents that I had. And so what I've done here is these are just the rostered players in FODEUSS. So if you want to comb through my draft list and try to get ideas for guys to maybe draft, you're going to have to go back and watch the first video because they're gone now. But like I was saying in the earlier video, this does make it a lot cleaner. It's a lot easier to scroll from the top to the bottom. This list will get pretty long by the end of the draft anyway, so I think it's actually maybe a good thing that that happened. And, I'm not trying to hide the guys I'm looking at, though. If you're curious about guys that you might want to draft, shoot me a PM and I'll help you out with that. I don't mind doing that at all. Anyway, before we get into rounds 3 and 4 of the draft, we do have to go over Sean's keepers, which I skipped over last time, and also one of Heel's keepers, Bryce Harper. I didn't look at him either. So let's look at those guys first, and then we'll get right into the draft here. Let's see. Okay, so first is Jose Ramirez. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to say. Since I re-uploaded everyone, the stars are way lower this time. I don't know exactly why, but I think maybe because the first two guys I imported were Ty Cobb. I see him here, and Joe Morgan. And I think it's kind of basing everybody's star ratings off of those guys. But and the interesting thing is, as I was re-uploading all these guys, I was copying their ID into a text file, and then for a separate save where I am kind of doing my scouting now, I just uploaded all those guys in one chunk. And if you looked at that save, these star ratings look a lot better, but the actual ratings, when you look at the guys, look pretty similar. So we're gonna go with this, and I know it was kind of a theme of the first video, but let's just kind of disregard the stars. Not that important. And if it looks like, only a few guys are 5 stars here, that's because they kind of are. Yeah, it's not, there aren't quite as many 5-star guys as there were in the previous save, but their ratings are looking pretty similar. So let's just get right into it. Look at Jose Ramirez here. Like I said, so that's why, I guess that's why I said that. It's just because these stars don't look that great. But these numbers, I mean, the avoid Ks, the power numbers, the versatility on defense, even though the defense doesn't look that great here. I mean, this is maybe the one guy, if I was Sean, that I would have, if I was Sean, I probably would have approached this a little bit differently. I probably would have spent the $75. I probably would have tried to only keep 5 guys. That way I'm only giving up my first 2 picks. I get 8 picks back that way. And I would hope that Jose lasts until the 3rd round, or I would try to trade into the upper rounds to get him. I understand it's a favorite. It's the commissioner's favorite player. He's done well in this game. Not saying there's any shenanigans going on there, but Anyway, he does look very solid, though, I would say, and definitely worth drafting. I just maybe would have not kept him just so I could keep most of those draft picks, but there are, like Sean said, there are tons of different ways to build your team, and I think that he's going to do fine because he's really shrewd in this game, and by the time he does get back into drafting, there's still going to be tons of great guys left out there. There's just no way around that. That's the great thing about this game is there's 150 years of baseball history, and there's tons of great players. So let's look at his next. Once again, it's very hot here, and I'm sweating even with the fan on me. So apologies if the fan is being picked up by the audio. I did turn my mic up a little bit this time. I noticed I was kind of quiet last time, so hopefully that makes a little bit of difference. I didn't like crank it though. All right, next we got Smokey Joe Wood. I've got everybody uploaded this time too, so there won't be as much. We might look at some different years of guys, but there's not going to be nearly as much of that this time. And you can see he's looking amazing. This is a great keeper. As a starter, I kind of look for guys that have 4 or more pitches, but if you have 3 pitches that are that great, it doesn't matter at all. And I'm doing this a little earlier in the day today, so we're having coffee instead of beers. All right. Yeah, just the stuff. Like, this guy could be a great closer, I feel like, but you're probably not going to want to waste him there. You're probably going to want to try to get as many innings out of him as you can, I'm guessing, as the ace of the staff. So, great closer or great ace of your staff, I think, either way. Let's look at the next guy, Bob Gibson. This is going to be one, I think, where the rating or the stars are pretty low, but doesn't mean anything. As you can see, just very solid. He's got 5 pitches that are all very solid. Maybe this BABIP is a little bit low. I wouldn't. Can we look at Bob Gibson really quick and just see? Did he give up that many hits? I mean, we're talking about 1968 Bob Gibson. One of the most legendary pitching seasons of all time. He gave up a National League leading 5.8 hits per 9 innings, and he had a 0.853 whip. So this number here looks a little off. One other thing I wanted to mention, with pitchers in particular, I think my ratings might be quite a bit different from NT's. So with guys like this, take it with a grain of salt. Ask NT for the scouting reports. And even making decisions like, I know we talked about 2018 DeGrom versus 2019 DeGrom last time. I would ask for those reports from NT before making a decision if you have the money. Because, like, I got the reports on Toad Ramsey, and they looked really different from mine. So we're just looking at what my scouts are saying again, and they might be way off on some of these guys. That's very possible, I think. The more I look at it, the more I think we're definitely going to be in a different year than the year. By the way, the year we're looking at here is like, as you know, for where the game is set, is 1988, which does fall within the era that we're going to play in. But I think it's pretty clearly the wrong year at this point. But what are you going to do? I'm not going to create a separate save for each year within that era and compare all the guys in every year. I mean, I'm pretty obsessed with this game, but that's taking it a little bit too far even for me, I think. So we're just going to keep looking at 88 and see what it says. So anyway, let's go on to the next guy, who is Stan the Man. All right. This guy should look really good, I would think. Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at, yeah. Just... and lots of versatility, again, with solid defense at 3 positions. So you can play him a lot of different places. I think he's going to be really solid at first base. You might be looking for a little bit better defense for your corner outfield, but maybe not. I mean, that's still solid enough that he could definitely hold his own out there. And these outfield numbers don't look bad at all. But, I mean, the bat is just completely solid all the way around. The eye would be the only thing that's a little bit mediocre, but I feel like in this game, a lot of the best hitters are kind of free swingers, and that does not matter at all. So, very good keeper here. Also, this durable injury proneness. I haven't been really looking at that much. I don't know if that can change. Like, there's this one guy from the 1880s, though. Like, his name is Cal McVeigh. Maybe 1870s even. But he's got availability at catcher, and he's just got crazy offensive stats. But every time I upload him, it says fragile, so I'm, like, really scared to draft him. So there are guys like that, like, maybe they're just always going to be fragile. Maybe this guy's always going to be durable. I don't really know. I haven't been too focused on that, but that is good to see. And then next we got Roberto Clemente. Wow. Look at this right field defense. That's just awesome. And then the bat is just completely solid. Again, this is a guy that I feel like if we looked at him in my other save, it would say 5 stars. And he's got that Iron Man injury proneness as well. So all around, very good keeper again. And Sean has just like a really good start to his team here. So you can see why he would feel okay foregoing so many draft picks when you got second base, first base, right field, 2 starting pitchers, and this third base probably with Jose. That's a lot of positions already covered. And then Nap Lajoie. Napoleon Lajoie, who used to be on my team for many years, sadly traded him. I noticed this right away, that it does say he's durable. One of the reasons I traded him is he kept getting hurt every season. And I was like, he is great. I mean, these stats are ridiculous, right? But if he keeps getting hurt every year, maybe there's something up with him. Maybe that's just gonna keep happening. I don't know. I'd have to ask Sean if that happened last year, if he got hurt again. But it's been a constant in the league, it seems like. So hopefully, I mean, maybe this is new. Maybe he wasn't uploading as durable before the season, and maybe he'll just have a killer MVP type season. You wouldn't put it past him with all of these numbers. Looking really good. And that's it for Sean's keepers. So those are the 6 guys that Sean kept. And let's look at Bryce Harper, the one other guy I skipped last time. Again with the stars. Don't know why. Don't know why the stars are so low, but really solid defense. And I feel like there are guys that no matter how they look with their ratings, they just always do well in this game, and this is definitely playoff Bryce. He's one of those guys. I would expect these numbers to be a little higher, and maybe if you get the report from NT, they are, because he had one of those crazy, 10 WAR fucking MVP years that year. So, because this is it doesn't even have. I don't know. It's goofed up, but that's okay. But it is the 2015 Bryce, I'm pretty sure, or whatever year was his crazy year. This is what I've got. All right, a couple more things before we actually get into rounds 3 and 4. I just wanted to show Autumn. I don't know if you're watching these videos, but remember yesterday or last breakdown, we were looking at Phil Niekro. We were looking at his 1967 season, and I was like, this doesn't look very good. You might want to look at some other years. Well, I noticed that you actually had picked 74, so I uploaded 74. It's right here. It looks basically the same as 67, and if you'll remember, I was saying that the knuckleball, like that's the one thing I'd like to see that up around here, and if that was the case, I thought this was a totally salvageable pick. Well, I did look at 1978, 38-year-old Phil Niekro, and it's basically exactly what I was saying. So I would get the reports from NT to confirm this, but I think this might be your move here, is 78 Niekro. Amazing that he was 38 years old then, and then he went on to pitch 10 more seasons. Pretty crazy. And ended up winning 318 games. I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame, so there's got to be a good year for him, and I feel like it might be this one with this 70 knuckleball. Anyway, just a suggestion. Also wanted to show Pointy that I finally did get Larry Walker to upload correctly. Oh, wait, no, it went back. What the fuck? I swear it had his outfield stats here. I swear to God. I was like, oh, it finally did it right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We can look at those. We can look at his outfield defense. Here it is. It's definitely very good. It's fine. I don't know why it shows the infield stuff there. And I swear to God, it didn't before. And I was like, oh, I'll show Pointy that it looks correct now. But no, it doesn't. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, into the draft. Here we go. Round 3. Round 3 kicked off with Frank Robinson being picked by Jedi Marine. Very good pick. I'm guessing we're going with the Triple Crown season, probably. See if we can get the batting stats here. Yeah, I went with 1966 Triple Crown year, I believe it was. He hit 316 with 49 homers. 122 driven in. Is another guy that has many good years, though, so you might want to get a few scouting reports before deciding on a year. I don't know, but like this Iron Man, these batting stats just completely solid all the way up and down. And pretty decent defense in left field if you put him out there. Doesn't make any errors, really, but the range and the arm are a little bit down. Solid base running. Just going to be really solid for you, I think. Let's look at the next one. Alex Bregman from Sith Overlord. And, you know, even though Bregman plays for the hated Astros, I've looked at him every year as a potential pick because he does, again, I think we're just going to see really solid numbers. I mean, just doesn't strike out, has a great eye, and just solid power. Going to have solid defense at third. Also has availability at short, and it's not going to be bad defense at short. It's going to be solid, so that's another option there. Just looking really solid. Again, we're just kind of ignoring the star ratings this time. Let's look at the next pick, which is Mordecai Three Finger Brown by Dark Lord of the Empire. And again, this is just dumb because this just looks really solid. The one thing is like the stuff, he's maybe not going to strike out that many guys, but the movement's solid, the control is amazing, the pitches are solid, defensive pitcher, his stamina is ridiculous. So I think this is a really solid pick. I feel like he hasn't done, some of these dead ball guys haven't done as well as you might expect, and I might have that issue with Charles Bender. But some of these guys that pitched like in the 1900s, early teens, maybe because it was just such a pitching dominant era and the game is comparing them to their contemporaries from that era, and there's not anybody like a Pedro who's like just way better, like having a crazy season where he's got this 300 ERA plus or whatever, or like FIP under, like there's nothing like, there's no guy that's really, even like a Walter Johnson or Christy Mathewson. Since there's also Ed Walsh and Mordecai Brown, there's so many good pitchers from this era that maybe that's holding them back just a little bit. But I think this is going to be really solid. Also, I like the mustache they put on him here. Good pick, I'd say. Let's go on. Oh, this is the one that really killed me. Autumn, I feel like, has had a little bit of a inconsistent draft, but my next pick my pick in the third round was going to be J.R. Richard. I had been looking at him. I was like, that's going to be my guy. I don't know if I'm going to use him in the bullpen or as a starter, but I'm going to grab him. And then Autumn, out of nowhere, grabbing J.R. Richard. And look at these pitches. I just thought, like, I mean, as a starter, he could be the ace of your staff, but like in the back end of your bullpen with these three just dominant pitches, I just thought he looked really awesome. Again, he might not look like this in NT's report, but I'm guessing he looks really good. And I would say this is your best pick so far in the draft, Autumn. Like, just amazing. I'm thinking you're probably going to want to use him to eat up as many innings as you can, so I would probably use him as a starter. But I think he's going to be the ace of your staff, and I think he's going to really help you have a successful season, hopefully, this year. Great pick. Tunes with Oral Hershiser. Again, this is going to be one that doesn't look quite like that, but when you look at it, it's just real solid. Just real solid all the way up and down. Great control. Good movement. Just the stuff is a little down, and the actual pitches, maybe not quite what you'd want out of Oral. Might be worth looking at a few different years. The hold runners is really good, though. Like, and since I have been mentioning, like, I think there's going to be quite a bit of stealing in this defensive era that we're playing in this time. I think that's going to be pretty key. I don't think this is a bad pick at all. And it's, it's Oral Hershiser and it's Tunes. And I just love the way that everybody builds their team a little differently. And it's really fun to watch Tunes put his team together with just guys that he loves, guys from his childhood and stuff. Oops. Anyway. Let's look at the next guy. Yak with Vita Blue. 1971 Vita Blue. Believe that was his Cy Young year. And that he's got that great stuff, which is awesome. And I don't know, like everybody's going to have their own strategies when it comes to putting together their staff, who they want to use in the bullpen, if they want to draft actual guys that were in the bullpen in real life to put there, or a starter in the bullpen. But I think that for bullpen guys, the stuff is really important. So if you wanted to have Vita Blue coming out of the pen, I think that would be absolutely fine. He could even be your closer, maybe. The control has the potential to go up to 50, which is decent. These numbers are really decent. He's got this one killer pitch with the changeup and a really good curveball. I think Vita Blue should be awesome. He's been awesome before, so good pick there. Minnesota with Lou Boudreau, and I think after this pick I made a comment like the Gales are looking tough or something like that, but they really are. Lou Boudreau, guy that I had my eye on. It's this combination, right? Like, can play either third or short, and with these crazy infield defense ratings, and then offensively, this is a 5-star guy. Like, you got 90 avoid Ks here. I mean, he's not going to strike out. He's going to put the ball in play, and he's got decent power as well for a shortstop. That's a crazy pick. Good job, Minnesota. Okay, let's go on. RX Sith with Yogi Berra. And Yogi looking really good here, you know. This avoid K is amazing. The power, really good. So he's not going to strike out. He's going to hit you home runs, and he's going to play a decent catcher defense. I do think this is the year you drafted, which was, does it say? Looks like 1950. Yeah, 1950. So I only did the 1 year. Yogi's a guy where you might look at a few different years, but this looks really solid to me from your catcher to get, you know, this kind of just not striking out and very solid with the defense. I know I was making a big deal out of catcher defense last time, and then I ended up, well, you'll see when we get to my pick. But let's go on to Cubman's pick here, Miguel Cabrera, 2013. Okay. Things had been moving so quickly. I think it's my OBS. Whenever that's running, I think it's hogging my resources just a little bit. Here we go. And Miguel just looking very solid. And the defense, if you put him at first base, the defense is really good. Really good first base defense. Third base, you could get away with it, probably. Not going to give you much on the bases, of course, but just these solid offensive numbers with the contact combined with the power and not striking out. A very decent pick. I think, you'd like him to be able to play third, but you might, if you don't have anybody at first yet, and let me look at your roster really quick. Oh, you already have Mike Schmidt at third. Okay, so that's perfect. Because Mike Schmidt has that great third base defense, and now you can get this great first base defense from Miggy. So, nice pick. Let's look at the next one. Looks like that is Jimmy Fox, picked by Wang. And these numbers, insane. It's just this number here might hold you back a little bit with Jimmy. He's going to strike out quite a bit probably, but when he does make contact, he's going to get a hit, and he's going to get a home run a lot of the time with this 80 power. I mean, we haven't seen that very much when we're looking through these guys, so that's what you want. You probably have him batting cleanup and hopefully driving in a lot of guys, hitting the ball over the fence. I think first base would be fine to put him there, but I think you'd also mentioned using him as the DH, so that's probably, that's probably a good plan. Although I do think you could just stick him at first. I wouldn't play him at third, though. I think there might be years where he has catcher availability, but I think the defense is crap there too. I know that that was possible in the what if years. I don't know if anybody's tried it in out of the park yet, though. I think it was early in his career that he was playing some catcher, and maybe the offensive numbers wouldn't be this probably anyway. Anyway, let's move on to Mr. Game 6, Rube Waddell. Picked by Pointy again, back on Pointy's team. Let's find him here. Look at the stuff. Again, this is just, it's not right. Because, these 3 pitches, he's going to be pretty awesome. It does look like they're giving him low movement. And again, I just think that that's just punishing, it's punishing these dead ball guys. He actually gave up 5 home runs. Oh my God, 5 whole home runs that year. And hits per 9, does it have hits per 9? Hits allowed, 231 hits allowed in 328 innings. I guess that's a 261 BABIP. Okay, so that's not terrible, but I don't know. Yeah. But the control is solid, and mostly you're going to be striking out a lot of guys. You got this great stamina. I love Rube Waddell, of course. Just such a character of the game in its early years, and a much deserving Hall of Famer. Okay, let's move right along. Oh, this bastard, amazing. Taking Wade Boggs from me when I'd been, if I still had the old save up here, you'd see I had 8 different years of Wade Boggs because I was so set on him being my next pick. I was just refining which year. I think Amazing landed on probably the right year, which was 87, but I will say that 88 also looked really good in my imports. But Wade Boggs, just awesome with the offense. And I really wanted him because, if you're going to replace somebody at third base who shits their pants twice a year, who better than someone who once drank 107 beers on a cross-country flight? I mean, you got to have that character on your team. Bugging all the rookies, asking them when the last time they shit their pants was. Okay, I mean, maybe Wade Boggs wouldn't do that, but what I'm getting at is that he's kind of a similar level of character to George Brett, and I really wanted that. Also, I just wanted another left-handed bat in the infield. I think that those are kind of hard to come by, and, I mean, you just can't argue with these numbers. Great pick, amazing. I hate you. But that did free me up to pick my guy who I wanted to have back as catcher. After last year, he did really well for me, and that is Mr. Bill Dickey. Like I was saying, I made such a big deal. I want at least 65 defense from my catcher last time, and then I end up drafting. I think I landed on that specific number because I think that's what Bill Dickey's rating said last year. It was either 65 or 70. This time it's only saying 60, but again, it's solid enough for me to go along with these offensive numbers. I just think he's probably one of the most balanced catchers in the game. Another one might be Gary Carter, who is still out there, surprisingly. Gary Carter, I think, is going to give you more like 75 defense, but these numbers are going to be down a little. But again, it's that balance, trying to find that balance with your catchers is just really tough. Most of the great offensive ones aren't going to give you this. Most of the great defensive ones aren't going to give you this. So that's why I went with him. Really happy to have him back and looking forward to another season. Also really glad to see this Iron Man. Hopefully that translates on NT's import. Okay, and then Lloyd with Pete Browning. I mean, Lloyd is clearly dialed into this game, and he's probably figured out a way to get more accurate imports than me. It would be really fun if he did a video like this. I would love to watch it. Until that day, we're just stuck with me doing it. But yeah, he looks really great. I think A lot of versatility on defense, but probably left field is where you're going to end up putting him. He could play center. The outfield ratings like aren't that great, so I'd probably stick him where his best potential is. Or you could put him at first too. Like that would be fine. But these numbers, all of this, the power is great. Like I don't know how many home runs he actually hit in 1885. 9. Oh, nine was a lot for 1885 actually. Anyway, just a real solid pick. Pete Browning. Good job, Lloyd. We're not going to be surprised by the ratings on any of Lloyd's picks, I don't think. Anyway, let's move along to heels with Amos Russi, who has been on Heels' team a lot. I think there was a point where Heels was like, I don't want to have any of these 1800s guys on my team, but I feel like he gave up on that. Clearly they're good, so why not? Plus, it's kind of fun to get attached to players from this era that was way before any of us were born. It's like, oh, now some of my favorite players are guys that I never actually got to see just because of how they've performed in FODEUSS for me, like, and that's kind of cool. That's like keeping some kind of connection to an era of baseball that, is like just the ancient history at this point. But anyway, I think Russi's looking really good. Got the elite curveball and changeup combination, like amazing stuff. Pretty solid movement. Lacking the control. I feel like we're going to get away with this a little bit this year because, like, when we're looking at the hitting stats, we're not seeing too many guys who have the great eye. We are seeing some, but like most of the guys are just hitting the ball really well. They're not taking that many walks. Like, although that would be a strategy, is kind of just like really focus in on the eye when you're looking at your hitters, because that you might, with this many pitchers kind of lacking in control, that could be really advantageous. But then again, there are some of the pitchers that have that elite control too. So it's always going to be sort of a dance, sort of a weird balance that we're trying to strike. But let's move along to Yak with Ronald Acuna Matata from last year. I think this might be the first 2023 player to be drafted this year. Again, the stars are just dumb because like the ratings are just super, super solid. He's got everything going for him, really, except gap power. But when you have this power, this eye, this contact, solid defense and right, great stealing numbers, I mean, yeah, this should be at least 4.5, 5 stars. I think if we look at my other save, he probably is 5 stars, but this was a great pick. And I'm surprised he didn't go earlier, especially with at least one Braves fan playing. I thought, maybe he would be like a first rounder, but, that's kind of the fun of the game. You never know how people are going to approach it. And then we got Tunes drafting another Dodger great with Roy Campanella, Hall of Fame catcher. Let's look at him. Just solid with really good defense. I feel like didn't he win the MVP 3 times? So you might want to look at the other years that he won the MVP for a potential, like this one up here looks really good. Just looking at the offense, the WAR. You might look at and have NT send you 1951 and see if that one looks a little better. But I mean, you're not going to go wrong with this though. It's just very solid. Like, he's not going to strike out a ton. He's got a solid eye. He's got great power, and this really good defense from your catcher. So that's that's what I want. So good pick, Tunes. And then this. Okay, so this was Autumn's second pick in this round. And this was kind of just out of left field for me. Like, this was so maybe the biggest out there pick that was second baseman Dave Cash from 1975, who I do not think has been rostered in FODEUSS before. And let's look at him. Honestly, doesn't look bad. He's got solid defense. And he was an all-star in 1975. I mean, he is a good player. It's not a bad pick. And it's funny how these numbers kind of match what you got with Ichiro early in the first round. Maybe this is just kind of a strategy to get these guys that are just going to put the ball in play. They're not going to strike out. They're going to make good contact. They're going to get base hits, and you can just keep the train running. I mean, you'd like to see maybe a little bit more speed from a guy like this, who's just basically trying to get on base. Be a lot of singles because he's lacking this power, but I mean, it's not a bad pick. I just think that he probably would have been there in the 22nd round. So to take him in the third round was really surprising to me. But then once I opened him up, I was like, well, I can't really shit on that too much. He doesn't actually look that bad at all. But but it was just like to see somebody who hadn't been rostered at all go in the third round was just like, wow. We're already digging deep. And we do have more players. We're going to have a lot of guys on teams that have never been rostered before. But I just didn't expect to see it this soon. All right, we got Dark Lord of the Empire next with Tip O'Neill. A FODEUSS staple going all the way back to the What If days. Tip O'Neill is just always going to be a solid player in this game. Look at the numbers. Great pick, Dark Lord of the Empire. I mean, even the defense is solid. I think in previous years maybe this has looked a little worse. He's a tireless worker and knows the game inside and out. His teammates have great respect for O'Neill. Well, I don't know if that'll translate in NT's import. This is a crapshoot, like I said before. But great pick, and yeah, just gonna be somebody in the heart of your lineup that's just racking up base hits and doubles and homers and kicking ass. All right, well done. 2 more picks in the third round, and then we'll get into round 4. Like I said, this should go a lot quicker than last time. How long have we been going? Ooh, 37 minutes already. Okay. Well, we'll try to get it in under an hour at least. Surely we can manage that. Okay. So we've got Sith Overlord with Robin Yount. Look at this. I mean, again, this should be higher, feels like. This is just super solid up and down. I feel like that's... did you pick Bregman too? Yeah. So with Bregman and Yount on the infield, you're just getting everything very solid. And I think if you're trying to build a well-rounded, balanced team, this is really great to go along with having Ricky and Mookie in the outfield. I mean, you're off to a great start, building a solid lineup with good defense. Can't really knock this pick at all. Kind of wish he'd be a little higher. Like I just think he should be historically, but maybe NT's import does look a little different. So very good pick though. And it just, again, it's all about the balance with him, I feel like. All right, Cal Ripken, the last pick of the third round. Oh yeah, once we get into round 4, there are less picks per round too, so that's beneficial. We probably can get in under an hour. Cal Ripken, okay. Again, it's kind of similar to Robin Yount, like not too far off of Robin Yount's, stats as a shortstop. Same kind of defense, really good arm, and never making errors. Just the range lacks a little bit, but then the super balance on offense. I mean, this is one of the high WAR seasons of all time, right? Like, oh, we went with 87 Ripken. Oh no, this is that thing where it's since we're looking at 1988, it's showing stats up until then. Sometimes it does that, and then sometimes it shows the actual years. It's really very strange. Anyway, I think that's what's happening. What year did I actually upload for him? Age 29. Yeah, I uploaded the 19. Must have been 91. It must have been 91 because that was the 11.5 WAR season. It had to be that. So, I mean, we're not going to argue with these numbers too much. He looks really good, really solid. Great pick by Jedi Marine. Okay, let's get into round 4. Heels kicking it off with 42. Jackie Robinson. He was right there. Pretty much right next to Ripken. I always do. I just start scrolling before I actually look to see where I am in the list. I noticed that watching back the other video. Like, there was times where I would have the mouse right on the guy, and then I would, like, scroll away and be like, I have to go all the way back. Anyway, Jackie Robinson. Looking amazing. As he should. Great pick by Heels. Gonna have him up towards the top of the order. He's going to give you a lot of speed on the base paths. He's going to give you a lot of everything, you know. So pretty decent power, but just mostly really good contact and this incredible defense. He gets along with everyone, according to this. So, great pick, Heels. You got somebody who gets along with everyone. Okay, and then Lloyd picks Sam Streeter, who I'm sure is a good pick because it's Lloyd. And I'm sure he did his due diligence and got the reports from NT. He's not wasting his 4th round pick, but we can't look at it. Again, because of the issue with how the historical black players import, NT has the fix. Get the reports from NT if you want to look at these guys. We're going to run into that again in 2 picks when we get to Bill Foster. So that's actually 2 guys we'll have to skip over. Amazing B with that pick. But next would be my pick, the 3rd pick in round 4, Eddie Collins. I had my eyes on a couple second basemen, and I know, like, this sort of precipitated, like, I'm going to turn off the fan because it's starting to squeak really loud. And I'm just going to sit here and sweat for a minute. But we're getting towards the end. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I had my eye on a couple second basemen. And the other guy that I was looking at is still on the board, even though there was like a flurry of people drafting second baseman. I don't think anybody made any bad picks or anything. I'm just kind of surprised that there's this one guy that's still left. But we'll see. We'll see how much longer that lasts. I'm not going to say who it is, but but there is a second baseman that I'm surprised is still on the board. Anyway, Collins, this is why I went with Eddie Collins pretty much, was this defense that over the other guy. The other guy I was looking at was really solid on defense, but it looked like about a 65. Also, this might not be Collins' best offensive year. Like, if we look at 1914, and we might as well. Let's look at Edo Collins. I spelled it wrong. Eddie Collins. Let's look at this 1914. Just for a comparison. Really quick. Hopefully my mic wasn't picking up the fan too much, but it was just distracting me at a certain point. I was just like, shut the fuck up, fan. Okay. So he's still 5 stars. The defense takes that hit, but it was a tough choice, honestly, because the offense just looks amazing. But I think I will stick with 1910, probably, even though these numbers don't look quite as good. This looks better, though. Like, the BABIP is actually even a little bit better. So, still really going to be really good. Super glad to have him. Sorry, Pointy. Sorry, Minnesota. I know I left you in shambles with this pick, but like I said, there is still one really great second baseman on the board. I'll let you guys know when he comes off the board, but I might just have to draft him. Nobody else wants to. Okay. Looking ahead. So we're skipping Bill Foster. Oh, yeah. Then Pointy went with Frankie Frisch for his second baseman because I took his boy. And Frankie, did you get 1927? Yeah, Frankie looking really good. I mean, you're still getting this, right? You're getting this defense. If you got ground ball pitchers on your team, this is going to be crucial. And then it's just like maybe a little bit of a poor man's Collins, but I mean, it still looks really great. Yeah. Frankie Frisch. And I think he's got at least one other good year too that you might want to get some reports from NT. There isn't too much a point in us doing these huge comparisons on here because I think ultimately, if you are torn between 2 years on a guy, you're gonna want to scrounge together two NT bucks and get the actual reports rather than going by what I'm saying, because I think there is going to be so much of a difference from what you see. But this just gives you kind of a rough baseline of how these guys look. All right. Wang with Huey Jennings. Finally, Huey Jennings getting picked. I mean, if you look at, like, how did he last this long when you look at these numbers? A bunch of shortstops already been picked, and you could have had this. But, you know, he's Huey. He doesn't always do the best in FODEUSS. I mean, but he's gonna put the ball in play and get base hits, and he's gonna be a terror on the base paths, and he's gonna give you excellent defense. Look at this 90 turn double play. So like, this seems like a guy with these numbers. If you wanted to draft another shortstop and move Huey to second base, like, I don't think that that would be a bad idea at all. In fact, I think a Star War might have done that in one of the previous drafts, where she had like a she had, I think, Bill Dolan and Huey Jennings, or it was somebody else, like some other really great 1880s, 1890s shortstop, and then she put Huey at second. And I think it worked out pretty well. I don't really remember, but I don't remember if she made the playoffs. But I do think it's a solid strategy, because I think I've heard, you know, that the game sort of works like with the defensive ladder mindset. So if somebody's like really good at shortstop, then they can play the other, and like then that's considered the most difficult infield position. Then they're going to be able to move down to the lower difficulty positions with no problem. It's when you're moving up the ladder that you might run into some trouble. But you could probably put Huey at third, short, second, first, anywhere on the infield, and he's going to do great. Anyway, moving along to Cubby with Ryan Sandberg, a great pick for a Cub fan. Rhino, looking just again really solid. Reminds me kind of like the Bregman numbers that we looked at earlier and the Robin Yount numbers. Just a solid D, solid offense with no holes. Just solid all the way down the board with the great power, not striking out a lot, good contact. Real good pick by Cubman. I think Sandberg's going to do just fine. Grasshopper Jim, picked by RX here. Jim Whitney. Now, this is the 1883 version of Jim Whitney, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in actual history of baseball, 1884 was the first year that pitchers were allowed to throw overhand. So I've always been a little bit weird about drafting guys from before 1884. Like, are they just lobbing it up there underhand? Can the batter still request a high ball or a low ball? Is that still how it works? Like, but when you look at Jim Whitney's numbers from 1883, they're actually quite good with this great control. Like, is that also back when you had to throw 12 balls for it to be a walk? Like you see some of the walk numbers on the, and it's just clearly it was a different game. Like, because I think it was like something like 3 balls out of the strike zone constituted 1 ball, and then if you did that 4 times, it was a walk, which is just a little bit different than how it worked after that point. Also, like when you see the 1884 numbers, all of a sudden Old Haas, Guy Hecker, these guys are just incredible. I think it's because they were allowed to throw it overhand for the first time, but I probably should have researched that before I just started spouting off about it. Anyway, the point is Jim Whitney looks really good, and RX is going to enjoy having him on the squad, I believe. And okay, Minnesota with Fred Clark, who, looking back through old rosters, has been rostered before. I think he's going to be asked to play a more critical role on a team this year than he has in the past, and I think we're going to see a lot of that just with the, you know, the more teams being in the league, the talent is more diluted now, and we're going to have to lean on guys that we haven't had to lean on before. So I'm excited for that. Fred Clark just looking really solid. Not going to make any errors out in left field. and just going to be super solid as an offensive player, giving you a lot of different contributions. So I love that pick. I was kind of looking at this guy because I had him on the World Baseball Classic thing that we just did, and I don't know that he actually did that good for me, but it was just one of those guys I was looking at his numbers a lot and stuff when I was trying to put together that roster. So I do think he's going to be great for you. So that's a good pick by Minnesota. Once again, Minnesota just killing this draft. And then let's look at Yak's next pick, Eddie Murray, 1983. Love this pick. Not too many switch hitters in this game. Not too many switch hitters that were like that good in baseball history, really, when you think about it. There's Mickey Mantle, there's another one, but there just haven't been that many, and I think it's cool to have them on the squad if you can get them. And again, we're just looking at some really solid numbers. Just no holes. Very solid. Very good at defense at first base. I think this is a really good pick by Yak. And again, he's going to be similar probably against, we can look at his ratings and see against lefties and against righties. Just slightly better against righties with his eye. Otherwise, identical numbers, which is what being a switch hitter should give you. It should give you that edge where you're not going to be weak against either side and you can play every day and no need to platoon. So great pick by Yak. All right, we got 7 more and then we'll be out of here. Okay, so Tunes picked Tony Gwynn, 1997. I do think this is one where you probably got the wrong year. Doing a little bit of a freeze here, no problem. Like, this is amazing, but you're not getting very good defense out of, I mean, he's not going to make any errors, but he's just going to be real slow out there. It's kind of later Tony Gwynn. He's 36 here to start the season, and I think he's being punished for that a little bit. Basically, he's just going to be putting it in play. His avoid strikeouts is amazing. But I do think there are better years for Gwynn. Let's just look. I think the two that I would look at are 1994 and 1987. 87 instead of 97. I think I was just kind of scoping them out, and those are the years I would probably pick. So let's just look at them really quick. Let's do 94 first. We'll look at 94, and then we'll look at 87, and then we're on to Don Drysdale, Autumn's 4th round pick. So yeah, like 1994 Tony Gwynn, still giving you this, but then he's also giving you this, and this looks like a little better. Not great, but not as bad. I do think 94 would be a better choice. Let's look at 87 as well. I think 87 might actually be your best choice. So let's check that out. And then we'll look at Drysdale. I do already have all the people who've been picked in the 5th round. But we won't look at those until next Saturday. I figured this might be the way to do this for me, just with my schedule, is like I'll just do these breakdowns on Saturdays, and I'll just do as however many completed rounds we've gotten through up until that Saturday. So if we can get through 3 rounds in a week, we'll break them all down because I don't want to get too far behind. And also, like, there are less picks in the rounds now that there aren't as many compensatory picks. So these should go faster and faster. Yeah, I think this is your move. 87 Gwynn. He's got a little better power, gap power, better eye. Still have the great numbers up here. Better speed and the 65 defense in right field. Tunes, if you're watching this, I know that you're all about locking in the year right away, but I think it's okay to be a little flexible on that. I mean, just you want to make the team as powerful as you can. And I think you might want to get these reports from NT. That should go without saying at this point. Anything that's on my reports, I would double check before I make any moves, but yeah, I think 87 Gwyn probably is the move. And if I were you, those are the, I'd get that and the 94 report from NT and look at those probably. Okay, now Autumn with Drysdale. I mean, Drysdale, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. He looks just really solid. Just 5 pitches that are all pretty decent. Doesn't have that killer pitch that you'd like to see, but he's got really good control. He's not going to allow too many homers. Decent stuff and just solid. So I think 62 Drysdale probably is a good year to pick for him, but you might want to look at some others. But solid pick for Autumn to go along with. Who does he have? Oh, yeah. Oh, J.R. Richard and Phil Necro in his rotation right now. So, solid. Oh, and he's got Pudge as a catcher, which is going to help. I think that's going to help your pitching, having such a good defensive catcher. Let's look back here. Luke Appling, drafted by Dark Lord of the Empire. Another shortstop off the board. And this is 62 Appling. Good defense, which is you got to have that, I think, from your shortstop. So really good defense with this great range, which I think is important, especially for the shortstop. And solid arm. Might make a few errors, but he's gonna be making a lot of plays that other guys aren't even getting to. So that's really good. And then just solid with the offense, particularly the contact and the eye. He's not going to give you a ton of power, but he's going to get on base via the walk, via the base hit. And then he's going to give you some solid base running. He's not going to go crazy out there, but he's not slow by any means either. So really good pick by Dark Lord of the Empire. Let's look at the next one. Sith Overlord with Russ Ford. Oh, did I not? I might have skipped. Huh. I'm surprised I don't have Russ Ford. I really thought I did my diligence this time and got everybody in there, but looks like I skipped Russ Ford somehow. I know I had him in the old one. I know I've looked at this guy because he's always kind of intriguing with these numbers. I mean, what was it, 1911 Russ Ford? Is that what you picked? Oh, 1910. Okay, that's what I thought. That was the year where he had the crazy season with the, what was it, 1.87 FIP. So let's look at that. I don't know why I thought 1911. Although 1911 does look kind of interesting as well, but just not nearly as crazy with the hits allowed. Like I would expect to see a really good BABIP rating, but it is 1910, which is, there was a lot of great pitchers then, but he led the league in hits allowed, led the majors in hits allowed. So let's see. Oh yeah, I mean, again, I feel like these numbers are just punishment for the year that he's pitching in. Like they should be up here if they were in a different year or a different era. But the control, the stuff, these things, this doesn't make any sense when you look at this. Like, this is going to be a solid guy. Again, with only the 3 pitches, it might make me lean towards using him in a bullpen role, but not necessarily. Not necessarily. Since he was such an early pick of yours, I'd probably start him in the rotation. But then I think if he struggles, like I would maybe consider trying to find a different role in the bullpen for him. But really good pick. All right, only 3 left. Brooks Robinson by Jedi Marine. I did do a couple years of Brooks Robinson, it looks like. 1964 and 1968. Let's just look at those really quick. 64, like I feel like was like the offensive year maybe, and this does look pretty good. But when you got Brooks Robinson, you don't want to see this 55 defense, and I think that's why I uploaded the other one. Just like I think I would go with this one because this is what I'm looking for from Brooks Robinson. If I got Brooks Robinson on my team, it better be fucking 80 defense. I don't want to see 55 defense. So even though the offensive numbers take a little bit of a hit with this year, with this 1968 season, I think that just the defensive numbers are too. Is it 68 that I picked, or is it? It must be, but that's what I want. I would maybe get some reports from Inti just to make sure that you're getting that good defense, and then lock that in. That's what I would do. Yeah, it is 68 when he had 4.5 D WAR, like according to Baseball Reference, and 4.5 O WAR. So like he had an 8.4 WAR season that year, and yeah, even though the offensive WAR was way higher in 64, and he led the American League in WAR that year, I think I would go with 68 just to make sure that I'm getting this, as long as NT's reports match mine. Anyway, two more to go. Oh, another third baseman here. Minnesota with Ron Santo. Oh, did I not get Santo either? Oh, no, there he is. Okay. Santo looking really solid with this defense. This is a 67 Santo, which is what he picked. And just solid. Maybe the gap power is a little low. The base running isn't going to give you much, but the bat is going to be solid. And the eye is great. And the defense, again, great. And we know Ron Santo kills in this game, crushes people's hopes and dreams. So he's going to be doing it again. And again for Minnesota. Was he on your team last year, Minnesota? I don't remember, actually. And then Cubby drafting Mel Ott. 1929 Mel Ott. Just giving you this great defense in right field. This left-handed bat. It would be kind of nice if it was one of the years where he had the third base availability, but beggars can't be choosers. And I mean, I would probably stick with this just because it's better to have one elite position than two positions where he's okay. Because I don't think he ever had an elite rating at third base. And just going to give you a ton of power and a great eye with the potential to be even better in both of those categories. It seems like his potential numbers, if he fulfills those, this is going to be like MVP level Mel Ott again. Oh, and I guess that's it. I guess that's for the rounds 3 and 4 of the FODEUSS draft. We will reconvene most likely next Saturday, and we'll either do rounds 5 and 6, or we'll do 5, 6, and 7 if we can make it that far. I can't see a world where we get any further than that, though. But we are already mostly through round 5, with Cubman, of course, on the clock right now. Jim Edmonds will be fun to look at, but we'll save that for next week. Okay, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time breaking down the FODEUSS draft. Adios.